Every quarter, B2B marketers are expected to make million-dollar investment decisions: where to invest, where to cut, which markets or which programs deserve more budget, determine whether paid search is still worth funding, and try to determine which events yield the best ROI. And then they're expected to defend those decisions to the CEO and to the board. The problem is almost none of the evidence they're using today can answer those questions reliably and with precision. And that's especially true for companies tracking marketing performance by last touch attribution, which shows you one thing that happened in the buyer journey, and that's if that data is even accurate. It doesn't tell you what's actually building demand and preference with the market that you're going after. It can't tell you with any real confidence which programs are working and which are burning budget, and it gives you nothing to stand behind when the board asks hard questions about marketing spend and marketing impact. Then reality gets in the way. CRM fields are haphazardly populated, contacts aren't associated with opportunities, data in your marketing automation platform doesn't match Salesforce, historical data is missing, and every report becomes an argument about whether the data can even be trusted in the first place. After helping countless B2B CMOs and more than 24 private equity firms across 50 plus portfolio companies, there's the same consistent problem I see across the board that's preventing those CMOs from having the data and the evidence needed to make decisions and report on their real business impact and truly understand where and how marketing drives real business outcomes. Here's exactly what I've learned. But first, the problem isn't reporting. Most companies think reporting creates the evidence that they're looking for, and it doesn't. The problem is that they don't have a defensible marketing measurement system to begin with, and that's exactly why I'm making this video. By the end, you'll know exactly what the system looks like and how it can completely fix the measurement problems you're facing today. Let's start with the foundation of the system, the data model. Every company already has data, and that's not the real problem at hand. The problem is that the necessary and required relationships between the data that you have doesn't exist. A website visit exists in one place, a lead exists in another place, an opportunity exists inside the CRM, and your event engagement data lives somewhere else. None of those records of data understand each other in those different silos. And until all of those moving parts are connected in a cohesive way, you're asking disconnected systems to answer connected questions. And that's exactly what a data model does. It doesn't create more data, it creates context. Suddenly, a webinar attendance isn't just a webinar attendance anymore. It's somebody who later became part of a $500,000 deal. Nothing changed about the data, but your ability to explain marketing's contribution to revenue did. Now let's look at the second layer of the system, the revenue model. Once the data is connected, you need something even more important, a model that explains how revenue is actually created out in the real world. This is where most companies just get it wrong. They assume that buying is simple, clean, and linear. They think they track things like first touch, MQL, SQL, opportunity, close one revenue. B2B buying is almost never this straightforward in practice. Enterprise buyers, for example, sometimes disappear for months, and then new stakeholders enter the conversation halfway through. Marketing creates demand long before sales ever even knows an account exists. In fact, some opportunities are influenced by 20 different interactions across multiple channels and multiple people over the course of years. Others, they might happen in 2 weeks. Let's look at one enterprise risk management software company selling multi-six-figure contracts. Leadership and the entire GTM organization, they believed that marketing's contribution was whatever happened to receive last touch attribution on the opportunity. But when we reconstructed how revenue was actually being created, the story was very different from the way that they were looking at it. Winning deals didn't start when sales opened the opportunity. And nor did they start on that last thing that they did to get credit. They started 2 to 5 years earlier with marketing engagement. High intent inbound leads converted to pipeline 4 to 5 times faster and more efficiently than any other acquisition source. And nearly half of all opportunities had multiple months of marketing engagement prior to opportunity creation. And on average, buyers engaged with the company for more than 1,100 days, generating anywhere from 20 to more than 55 marketing touchpoints across 3 or even 8 different stakeholders before the opportunity was won. Now, none of that existed, obviously, in their last touch reporting model, but once they could actually see how revenue was being created in a journey, the conversation changed completely. Instead of debating which campaign deserved credit, they could identify which investments consistently built buying intent before pipeline appeared. That visibility helped their marketing leader more than double their MQL to opportunity conversion rate and confidently redirect investment towards programs that were creating the highest long-term business impact. That's the purpose of a revenue model, to explain how revenue is actually created and not to tell you who gets the credit. Now, before I go on to the third layer of the system, if you'd like us to create that revenue model using your data, click the first link in the description to book a free strategy call with us. All right, let's get back to the video. Once you've reconstructed how revenue is actually created, you can finally measure it. And that's the third component of the system. But that's where a lot of companies make another mistake. They confuse measurement with reporting. They build dashboards full of website traffic data, MQLs, email opens, cost per lead, campaign performance, influence pipeline, and dozens of other metrics. But none of these by themselves explain why things in the business changed. They're observations. And measurement isn't about tracking activity as an observation. It's about creating evidence that explains why pipeline increased, why win rates declined, why one market consistently outperforms another, why paid search suddenly became less efficient, or why marketing generated more leads, but the revenue didn't move. Those aren't reporting questions, they're measurement questions. And good measurement doesn't simply tell you what happened, it explains why it happened. And that changes everything. Instead of debating opinions in a QBR, you're having strategic conversations based on real evidence. And instead of saying, I think events are working really well for pipeline creation, you can actually see how event attendees might behave differently through the buyer journey. And instead of celebrating lead volume, for example, you can measure which types of leads consistently create qualified pipeline, closed-won revenue, larger deal sizes, or even faster sales cycles. And instead of treating every marketing program equally, you can understand which investments actually change buyer behavior. That's what good measurement should do, is produce better evidence. The final component is the feedback loop, and this is the one that almost every company is just missing altogether. Measurement alone is not enough because it isn't the outcome. Action is. Purpose of a marketing measurement system isn't just producing better reports for your QBRs. It's to help you make better decisions in the moment before the quarter is over. Every quarter, different variables across the GTM engine change. Markets change. Buyer behavior changes. Teams change. The competitor landscape changes. Budgets change. The measurement system should detect those changes long before they appear in revenue, because revenue is a lagging indicator, not a leading indicator. By the time pipeline slows or bookings decline, the things that cause those outcomes were often happening months earlier. And some of those early signals almost always appear much further upstream in marketing engagement. Changes in channel efficiency, in conversions between stages, in pipeline velocity. These are all of the indicators that tell you your marketing engine is changing while there's still time to do something about it. We see this a lot with our customers. One CMO we worked with believed that their event strategy was working, but they couldn't really prove it in a defensible way. See, from a traditional last touch reporting perspective, the contribution from events looked modest. The opportunities simply weren't appearing quickly enough after every event, making it really difficult at times to justify increasing investment. But once we reconstructed their revenue model for them, a very different story emerged about events. The data showed us that events were consistently creating the highest quality buying journeys, but those journeys took longer to materialize than anybody on the team realized. We could see that the event attendees were progressing through the buyer journey, generating meaningful marketing engagement months before opportunities were ever created. Leadership started exploring if they should be putting more fuel into the event engine. This new evidence gave the CMO the confidence to go back to the exec team with a different narrative built on data and not last touch attribution. Also triggered an entirely new forecasting exercise, and events justified shifting budget from other parts of the business into marketing. And that's what a feedback loop does. It changes what you do next. And the earlier you can detect changes inside of your revenue engine, the more options you have to go and experiment with. So we started this conversation talking about the pressure CMOs are under to explain performance, to forecast growth, to decide where millions of dollars should be invested, and to defend those decisions to the board. The problem here is that brilliant leaders are making high stakes decisions without evidence, in the dark. That's what the marketing measurement system gives you: executive confidence. If this video made you realize you've been making important decisions with incomplete evidence, here's exactly where I'd start. Don't go building another dashboard, and don't buy another attribution platform that you're just going to layer on top of your tech stack that already doesn't answer those questions. And definitely don't dump a bunch of your data into AI, hoping it'll figure out everything for you. Start by understanding where your current measurement system is preventing you from seeing the things that you need to see. That's exactly why we built our marketing measurement assessment. In just a few minutes, you'll understand how mature your own measurement system really is and identify your biggest blind spots. Marketing leaders tell us that when they do this assessment, they walk away knowing exactly what they need to go fix first and a better understanding of why they're not able to answer certain really important questions about marketing impact. Now, if you'd rather jump over that step and have this built for you, that's exactly why we created the Passetto Sprint. In less than 30 days, we build your complete marketing measurement system and give you the evidence to confidently answer the questions that your leadership team has been debating for years. Many of our clients actually end up continuing on with us because, well, your GTM system is constantly changing and your marketing measurement system should change alongside with it. We've now done this for dozens of B2B SaaS companies, from growth stage businesses to private equity-backed portfolio companies. Nora, the director of demand gen at Top Desk, described working with Passetto like this. Passetto's data has elevated the marketing team. We came to the table with things we can directly influence. Here's the plan, here's the forecast, and then we collaborate from there. That's the shift. And their chief marketing officer, Christine, said something that perfectly captures what we've been talking about throughout this video. In the beginning, I was using Passetto to tell a story and educate my board. Now we're moving much more to using them to running our shop. I sing your praises to all of my CMO friends. Marketing leaders are judged every day by the decisions they make. They're under a microscope by leadership and boards. Better decisions require better evidence. That's what a marketing measurement system gives you. If you're ready to go build that same system that gives you the confidence to make better decisions, you'll find links to both the KPI assessment as well as the Passetto Sprint in the description below.